All right, am I on? There we go. All right, so I'll try to keep everybody awake after eating all the meat, which I had a nice little pound of. I want to start the afternoon off by asking, really just kind of gauge the audience so that I'm using the right language here. Who here, when you talk about red team, blue team, who here actually works as a security analyst, doing stuff for a company, and is kind of responsible for responding and protecting the company? So that's my answer. I can see. That's the all right. Good. About a third. How many people are researchers in the security field doing either working for a VAR or a vendor that feel like they're part of the security industry? So what industry folks we got here? A couple. Okay. And I assume the rest of you guys are just eating. They had too much meat. So what's the other category? We got consultants that do anything for money. That's good. All right. So what I've done today is, so my name's Xavier Ashe. I've been in the security industry, industry guy for about 22 years now, and did some time at IBM, a couple of other places, and most recently was at Bit9. So I'll be talking about a technology here called carbon black, and I am now no longer with the company. I'm in between gigs right now. So I went out and took this presentation and revamped it to say, all right, let's look at all the tools that are out there and see what capabilities exist to kind of do this without having to buy commercial tools. So hopefully this will be very useful to you guys to not only understand and kind of see some oohs and ahs, maybe turn on some light bulbs, but also to take away and see that there's some new capability that exists out there that you guys can start using the data in different ways, because this is some of the stuff is like really new. All right, yeah, that's not the right button. Nope. Let's try again. All right. So you always got to start off with quotes and say, all right, how big is the problem? So what I'm talking about here today is really incident response. So incident response is something bad has happened. What are we going to do about it? How can we detect it? How can we respond to it? How can we remediate it? And in that realm, I've got a couple of quotes here. So vulnerability is being breached. 69% of breaches over the last year were discovered externally. That's where Visa calls you up and says, "Hey, we're detecting a whole lot of fraud, and it looks like it's coming from you, so you've been breached." FBI coming to you and saying, "Hey, yeah, you're sending out a whole lot of stuff. You're breached." So 70%, no, 69%. Our companies, the guys that said that I'm here protecting my company, we're not detecting it. Other people are. How long does it take to discover that? On average, 243 days. I'm sorry. Yeah, 243 days. 205. Yeah, I think we're getting. You're right. I saw that one. That said we are getting a little bit better, but still, 205, 243. That's still months, right? To know that you've been attacked, and then we got to put an average cost on there for the bean counters to understand that this is not an easy thing to recover from. Stay maximized. All right. So traditional timeline analysis. We talk about. Anybody in here that's specifically on the IR team that does incident response malware analysis? A couple of hands here. All right. So you pull the image, or you grab an image, you do collect it up, rebuild the timeline. We've got this detection. We think that we got this IDS alert around this time. We're going to go look to see what was going on around this time. We're going to pivot on this. We're going to look over at the files that were written around this time. What else we've got? Parse through all the PE headers. Look at what has been established in the registry. Building that timeline is a very time-consuming process. I pulled this off of a great blog. If you guys are working in that area, Windows Forensic Analysis. He basically wrote the book, literally, and has a lot of great tips. He also talks about this process mapping capability that I'll discuss today. So. Links in the presentation. So we've established the fact, compromise happens within seconds, right? Malformed PDF, oh, there, compromised. Compromised, the exploit goes out, downloads a dropper, loads itself in, exfiltration starts happening within minutes. You get that specific download, specifically for your version of Java, that knows exactly how to load itself into your version of OS, and is off to the races. This we've established, goes undiscovered for months, and once we find out, remediation takes weeks. We've got to pull images. We've got to look back through firewall logs. Some of the data we heard this morning from a sim, if you're not pulling in all that data, you're trying to recreate something that we might not have enough data for. So there's got to be a better way. And that basically a lot of the things that we're missing is what are we not collecting at the time that the attack happened, right? What are we collecting right now is generally firewall logs, IDS logs, things that on the network we've always said, well, yeah, we're going to create a log for every single little packet that goes on. Well, why can't we create a little log that says every time something executes, we log it? Every time something connects to a endpoint, let's log it. We've got vastly powerful PCs that are basically doing a whole lot of nothing, other than downloading lots of movies, but that we've got the capability of being able to create those logs now. And so that's what I'm going to stress through this and show how we can set that up, collect it, and also to visualize it so that we can understand what malware looks like and understand now we can start using the data. All right. So basically we're talking about process mapping for detection, response, and remediation. Understanding that when I create a process, when I execute a process, who here has worked on the process tracking feature of GPOs in Windows where you can sit there and turn on process tracking auditing within Windows? Anybody ever worked on that? Yep, we got 1, 2. The reason not many has done it because it really is fairly useless because it says, hey, this executable started. Sometimes, if you get the right situation. And doesn't have a lot of context. Well, who started that process? In what condition? What under user context? Well, what's the hash of the file that actually got executed? What's the file name? What other modules did it load? What's the image name? What network connections? We're not collecting that type of information. So that's what we're looked at. Yeah, the place in Linux where that you get that capability is in the security module. I think the names are. Yeah, the kernel level modules, but it's in this basically the same thing that SE Linux taps into. I think it's called just the Linux security module. And a lot of times on production systems, if customers are not using SE Linux or security, they'll actually take that out of the kernel build, and you don't have those capabilities. But just like the Windows kernel filter driver was actually created around XP Service Pack 3, back when Microsoft said, okay, antivirus companies, please stop hacking our OS to be able to do the thing you're going to do. We'll give you an open spot to be able to slide in here, and it'll be supported. And that was the kernel filter driver. Same thing with Linux, is you have to have that security module that says, I'm allowing something to come in here and shim, and I'm going to do things in a very specific way. OS X has also, you can load in KTeX libraries, but they have not really officially kind of opened that up. OS X, Apple is still trying to figure out how to work with security vendors, and so basically security vendors still have to kind of hack around OS X because there's not that easy module load. All right, so sysmon collects the information. Where does it put it? It puts it in a Windows event log. So if we talked about log parser earlier today. That's one way of getting at. There are some Python modules out there that can extract out of the event log. You can now do the event log forwarding, where you can then send all this information to a central site, and other log generation tools that can do the same thing. That allows for you to get all those events. So bottom line is we got sysmon 2.0, free download, go download it. You can install it with a couple of different options, very easy to set up. It'll automatically start sending to the event log. And that's what I did to set this up. Then just used log parser and some other Perl and Python scripting to kind of do some data magic. Any questions on kind of how the lab's set up and how I got this set up? All right. Oh, sorry, I have some bullets here. Make sure that we cover these. It does collect the full command line. It's very similar to if you, Procmon or and the newer task managers that Microsoft has. Allows you to see the actual full command line of the image that was loaded. Same thing here. So for Java apps, you get to see the actual load command. Especially when most malware loads itself with completely benign Microsoft tools, right? You'll see, Regmon, DLL load, DLL host being used, and then you can actually get the full string to see, oh, it's actually loading this other DLL that is the hash value has got, it's malware. So there's a lot of things that you can do when you get the full command line. It does record the hash of the processes. This is really neat because it actually supports, I think, like 5 or 6 different hash types. Default's SHA-1. You can do SHA-256 and MD5, and there's like 1 or 2 others that I've never messed with. For all of mine, I did an Adobe Flash setup. That is not the real Adobe Flash setup. And there's some other Smile downloaders. And look at all those sub-executions.
So this is a baby boomer on the internet.
Yeah. This is somebody that needs to keep up with his teenage son to be able to use the right smileys and load them up. All right. So then, if you could take this, immediately sends all these hashes in. Maybe you've got next generation firewalls that can do file-aware stuff. Throw these hashes. We talked about security intelligence earlier, right? Feed this into your list of hashes. Once you've got a list of bad hashes, then you can go back and look at all the network connections I did. Now I've got even more intelligence. I got an IDS that did a known CNC. did this, then I did the full map, and now I say, tell me all the IPs that all of this connected to. I get a list of IPs, block it, done. Within an hour, you're able to do an incident report and say, Sally from finance clicked it again. I was able to detect it, but now that we have this new capability, it didn't take me 3 weeks to do it. And we found more intelligence, more than our paid-for intelligence feeds are giving us. Because you got to remember that a lot of those paid-for intelligence feeds, they have a very specific scope that they're looking for. All right? There's one big company that starts with them that looks at the state-sponsored threats. Right? And then you got antivirus that is looking for the type of threats that can be signaturized. And then there's all the stuff in the middle. We're talking about finance. There was a finance worm that you mentioned that had the same thing. I had a customer that got hit by that finance worm. They weren't in finance. They're in research. But they got hit by it. And so I was able to get all this information. They created this list, and they went to that security intelligence firm. I'm sending you $1 million to do all the scans. And you didn't find this. Here's all these IPs that are connected. Here are all these hashes that have been used by this one variant of this bank stealing Trojan. Why didn't you find this? It's not. They said it's not state sponsored, and it took them a week to say it's not. Sorry, we didn't. Here's what we have on it, and 80% of it's what you just sent me. So this capability really explodes out the amount of information that you can load in to a security framework. I love this quote, especially coming after that last screenshot. The user is going to pick dancing pigs over security every time by our leader in crypto, Bruce Schneier. Well, I appreciate not everybody falling asleep during this, and those that did, I'll come over and smack you in the back a little bit later. But to kind of add it all up, is that this capability exists both in commercial tools and freeware tools. The freeware tools give you the capability, but you need to take that capability and design how to operationalize it in your environment. Maybe you're not in that type of security team, and you need to buy tools, and then the tools do exist and do so much more already packaged out. And so build versus buy, it's a common thing that we're faced with here. And that I think one of the more powerful things out of this is the network correlation piece. It's tying together network security data versus endpoint security data, and that alone, I think, is worth the price of admission in getting this type of capability set up. So thank everyone for listening to me, and if you have any questions, I'm going to take them. Thank you.